Watching TVC Breakfast. Now, the Petroleum Product Retail Outlet Owners Association of Nigeria, Petroleum, has announced that it has finalized an agreement with Dangote Refinery for the supply of premium motor spirit during the upcoming Christmas and New Year celebrations. According to the National Public Relations Officer of Petrol, Joseph Obele, the agreement was reached after a strategic business meeting between the management of Dangote Refinery and Petrol's negotiation team, led by National President Hary. The meeting, which took place at the Dangote Refinery complex in Lagos, was deemed fruitful, with both parties reaching a mutually beneficial agreement. This development is expected to alleviate concerns about fuel scarcity during the festive period, ensuring that motorists and other consumers have access to adequate fuel supply. Now, joining us in the studio for this conversation is Public Affairs Analyst, Chartered Accountant, Cheson Okwade. Good to see you. Thanks so much for coming.
Good morning, Ibrahim. Good morning, Olamide. And good morning to all our viewers across the globe.
All right, so
the compliment of the season.
Compliment of the season. Yeah, so if you look at the deal with Dangote Refinery, it actually mandates daily supplies of 28 million liters of petrol over 6 months. So how significant is this in addressing fears of fuel scarcity during high demands, especially in this compliment of the season? Quote unquote.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ibrahim. It's a good development, and these are part of the things we've actually been saying before now, that if we have someone, our own, coming up to this phase to build this kind of project, we should provide support. You know, before now, our argument has been in the area of, no, we can buy from Dangote, we need to import, the product is not it. But at least now that we are having a common ground, everybody seems to be having a kind of a sign of relief that things are getting better in the perspective. How they got to this level, I must give kudos to the parties concerned, because these are the kind of news Nigerians want to hear. Right. Although the other part of it, they are still waiting for it to say, okay, there will be availability as against scarcity that we do experience during this period because of high demand. But you ask yourself, what is the cost we're speaking to? And I think it will go beyond, we're talking to the agreement between Dangote and the marketers. And I ask that we all celebrated the Port Harcourt Refinery coming on stream, and we all know the importance in economics. When you have more supply as against your demand, it should kind of reduce the cost of the price of what we're saying. But that's another discussion we'll pick up to say, fine, there seems to be a common ground between the producer and those that will market it. We should start feeling the impact as consumers that are actually making those things available, knowing fully well that a lot of things have actually been put into structure. Dangote received some of this refinery in Naira-denominated stuff. You are taking off the issue of foreign exchange in this particular thing. You are taking off the logistics of, your freighting and bringing this thing back are actually not there. So we should be considering, if you're going to make available, reduction in the cost of this thing. And I think that's the area where because we want to celebrate Yota, give us Yota gifts, the season gift where everybody can wake up and hear that, oh, no, it's no longer 1,225 Naira. We'll be talking of maybe 700 Naira. And I can tell you, the Christmas will just be a bombshell for everybody to celebrate.
All right. And so many experts have, analyzed the prospect of this on Forex, on pricing, on availability, as you have also mentioned. But talk to us about how this, is, likely to affect the fact that it's a temporary plan. I understand that this agreement is for 6 months. Sustainability of this agreement, ensuring that we get the best out of this, ensuring that we use this open window to also improve our foreign exchange.
Yeah, well, if they say it's a temporary arrangement, I keep asking myself, what's temporary about this? I can consider this as, in business, what we call like a dry run. You're just trying to test what the relationship will look like. For 6 months, you can just say that will just be in temporary agreement. It's for both parties to see how can we have a common handshake for us to strengthen this, if I'm speaking from the perspective as a businessman. A lot of them will want to do it. We don't want to hear after 6 months to come and hear that we are reverting back to status quo of saying we want to be importing fuel. Because what you would have done if you patronize Dangote as we speak is to actually give him room for more production. On that particular aspect, you are expanding the horizon of that business. Because the more he produces, the more he's definitely going to grow as an individual. And that in tune will create more employment for people. Because if, as we speak, he's going to be dishing out about 28 million liters on daily basis that they've agreed on, then we can improve on it to say, how can we start be rolling out 50 million? How can we start rolling out 100 million? By the time we are self-sufficient in taking care of our needs, how can these same marketers start opening up the business to neighboring countries to now see, okay, now if I buy from here, I can sell at this price to other West African countries. How can we galvanize from West African country to take the space? Because you see, the success, this is part of what we've been saying, the success of an individual like Dangote in this particular business will open up a lot of things. By the time we see this handshake coming up now, what this will open is that other business investor picks up the template, and in the next 2-3 years, you start talking of about maybe 2 or 3 other refineries coming upstream to say somebody has actually given the bid. Because an average businessman, what they're after, as we speak, is what we are able to get, the sustainability of that particular thing. So if they consider it as dry or a temporary measure, I think it's for both parties to have understanding of good handshake for businesses, because it's going to, if they are able to walk this through successfully, it's going to enhance Dangote as an individual. It's going to open more businesses for people who are interested in opening that. We are not talking of government coming up with their stream now to say the other refinery should come upstream. Right. But what you'll be doing is that other business venture. Look at when we started telecom. Somebody started it, and we have about 4 different people. Even if it is for you to bring out a foreign investor into it, you can see the viability. And that's why we've been actually saying that the successful outcome of Dangote Refinery will definitely open more businesses for everybody. I'm waiting for us to take back the position of being the giant of Africa, not by population, but by we saying that the whole supply of petroleum product and even the byproduct is from Nigeria. We are able to salvage the situation in West Africa, in Africa. And don't forget, most of the time when we read this headline, we only speak to the product. We don't even go to the byproducts that we get from this. And that's enormous. You can imagine what we are making from fertilizer that has actually been given to $10 to manage with their partnership. That is enormous to contribute to agricultural sector. And if you're able to succeed in that, we can definitely galvanize that out of Nigeria alone to other neighboring countries. Talked about bitumen. We complain of our roads not coming up. These are all byproducts, jellies, and all other things that we get from there. We do not attach product. And that's why at the time, a lot of us were criticizing that you moved out our crude oil, bringing only the product that we know. And we pay so much for those byproducts, which are input to other sectors that can develop our economy. Right. So if we are able to provide the support that is, we are seeing this cooperation between the marketers and the producer themselves, it's going to move this country and grow the economy enormously, that you and I will ask, why the sudden growth? Why the sudden growth? Because an average businessman is looking at someone to test the water in every sector you want to talk about.
But if you look at Dangote Refinery, it has begun exporting jet fuel and naphtha globally. So you're talking about, exporting and then showing up the Nigeria's economy, boosting the Nigeria's, economy. Do you think these international activities would definitely strengthen Nigeria's economy, as you've said? But how do they now ensure that we still have domestic fuel stability? Because if you have everything being pushed, start with West Africa and then going to different countries across the world, do you feel that might indirectly or directly impact the domestic supply?
It wouldn't. And that's why the regulatory authority need to play a key role in this particular thing. We are availing you the product, the raw material, which is the crude, in Naira denominated for you to grow the business. You don't get that and punish the citizens. all because you want to make margin. And that's why I keep saying that regulators do not go to bed, because an average businessman wants to look for a way to maximize his profit and satisfy his shareholders who has actually invested in the business. But it's the regulator that comes on board. And that's why you see most organizations, you will come in and say, this is the quota for our local content for us to see. So the regulator can come in, you are having this production, so much production, 100 million liters per day. We are saying that after imputing correctly our daily consumption, take or give it, because as we speak, we've asked of several of those questions. We cannot still give a viable response on our daily consumption as a nation. But let's say hypothetically, we've agreed that our daily consumption is about 40, 50 million, and he is doing about 70 million. Is to say that we have a guarantee to take care of our domestic need. And on no occasion must you actually, patch into that supply that is made for domestic reason, for your export reason. Whatever gain you are making out of that, you must first satisfy the yearning of the people where you are making those, because it's even a threat to your business. You are producing locally and you are satisfying people outside. The people in the environment, before you know it, will eat back at you, and you see your business going down. So how much of CSR are you doing to that environment? And part of the CSR you even do is to make sure that there is availability of that. So for me, it's a plus, The export of this jet one oil and the likes is really, you've not heard of late of our aviation sector complaining of that particular shortage of that product. So it's to tell you that we are meeting the local demand, the domestic demand, and we are able to, move out and sell and earn foreign exchange to actually strengthen, our currency as a nation. You see, my major problem is that fantastic idea in some of the things we do, but there is still one key thing that we lack: monitoring some of this activity for the citizen to see the value in some of these things we're doing. We've been exporting some of these things. Can we have from CBN report of earnings we have seen Dangote make from some of these things? Because most of the time, and thank God for the tax, the fiscal policy people working on the tax reform, these are transparency we are expecting from organization, because a lot of people hide under this. They earn so much foreign exchange. When it's time for them to fulfill their obligation to the country, they try to manage it so that they don't pay so much tax. So these are areas where the regulators, the people that are assigned to monitor activities need to be transparent. It's not enough to come to say we are actually exporting when we are not feeling the vibe. Our currency, rather than nosediving when we cannot generate more revenue in foreign exchange, is not coming down. Then what is the balancing act to say that things are actually working in the favor of the common man?
Right. And so where does this leave the NNPCL? I mean, there was joy when we saw that the Dangote Refinery has started production. But where does this leave the NNPCL in terms of, control, regulation, and also ensuring that we do not have issues like monopoly and some other issues that you mentioned about having to, leave Nigerians and having to export outside the country? Does the NNPCL still have a hold in this case? Well,
pardon me, as far as I'm concerned, NNPC is a limited company, as we speak, even though government has taken it. And I think if the businessmen, the marketers understand their audience and government liberalize it the way we are actually experiencing now, NNPC, we have to struggle. And Nigeria will start asking for accountability, because they've managed for several years and we've not gotten value as citizens. So it's opening up some certain things that will start asking questions. You say a lot of people criticize when they were actually trying to make them a limited liability. I say it's going to work in a favor, because as we speak now, the independent marketer can now liaise with the producer on their own. Initially when they started, they said you cannot. It's going to be through NNPC. It was fought out. Now they can relate with the producer themselves. So the same way NNPC, because something was shocking to me. I traveled over the weekend and I saw some filling station, private marketers outside Lagos, selling above the price of NNPC. NNPC sell at 1,025 naira. And I did not brand, but at least on the nameplate, which I'm calling out, I don't know whether it's DPR or whosoever that is concerned, you are supposed to display the actual price you're selling your product. And the reason why we're saying this is that people can have that option of saying, this is it. I saw 1,010 naira, which is 15 naira lower than what NNPC is selling. And people are actually buying fuel. But at that point, I've actually bought fuel at NNPC. I could not verify what I was saying. But I feel like if that is coming up, then there is competition. Right. A lot of people will not patronize them. But there is other caveat that we need to know. You can sell at lower price. Who is monitoring the dispensing of the fuel for accuracy? People can decide to sell at 1,900, but they are dispensing 5 liters for 10 liters because a lot of people will tell you of those shady deals that we have. So it's not about you saying you are selling lower the price. Are you actually dispensing the actual quantity that is expected? So NNPC in the game of things, as limited liability company that we know them to be, will continue to struggle if they don't do the right thing. And it will open up a lot of things for us to ask.
We hope that NUPRC, that's Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, will definitely see to this. But one of the challenges that I'm looking at, trying to let us foresee is reports suggest that refinery requires $2 billion every year to sustain operation. So if you look at this financial burden, do you not feel that it might impact on the consistent or constant supply from Dangote Refinery? And then, while Dangote Refinery is promising, Nigeria's entire fuel strategy seems centered around it, just like Alamde said. What about the Petroleum Refinery that is coming on stream? So how risky is this over-reliance, especially if operational challenges arise?
You see, for every businessman, a forward-thinking businessman, these are things you would have. And if you, as a reporter, is having that information of saying, maintenance costs runs over $2 billion, it's what you would have factored in. And the areas you look at is how do I actually push out this product, make enough margin to sustain, the maintenance of this particular thing. This is not government asset. It's individual, of which a lot of stakeholders plugged into that you are answerable to at the end of every financial year. So for me, it's not something to really worry about. If the government refuses to maintain and sustain what they have, the next question we'll be asking, can we avail it in the hands of the people that understand the business, sell those things to them, and let them know that we are having some of these assets functioning so that we can have competition playing into beer and the citizen can benefit the best out of this particular thing that we have. But for me, a businessman is already thinking of that particular thing. It's been factored into his operating costs to say, how can we? And that's why you see every organization will give targets to their people. It's because they understand some of the things that they must sustain in terms of their operating costs. How do we actually mitigate it to arrive at that? And that's why I keep pushing out. At the time, I told everyone that even the chairman of Dangote has suddenly become both the communication expert, both the spokesperson, the marketer himself, making sure it is the reason for him to sustain some of those hidden costs. And the only way he can drive that is to say, let's have more businesses to ourselves. And with that, we'll be able to push this, and other people can come into the street.
Absolutely. So with this collaboration between Dangote and Petrol, is actually a bypassing of the middleman, which is known as the Ip-Man. So we just hope that this is not a bait and switch offer at the end of the day, so that Nigerians will definitely benefit from it.
Well, we are waiting, and that's why we encourage the government to get involved in this, so that we don't have that relief and come back thereafter and people start suffering
again. Public Affairs Analyst, Chartered Accountant, Sheson Kwade. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
A great time to start the week with you. You find out.
Absolutely. Oh, today is Monday.
Yeah.